9 shocking facts from the Quran. All right, let's have a look at some shocking Quran facts.
Ever since the dawn of mankind, we have sought to understand nature and our place in it. In this quest for the purpose of life, many people have turned to religion. Most religions are based on books claimed by their followers to be divinely inspired.
True, that's true.
Without any proof. Islam is different because it is based upon reason and proof.
That's also true.
There are clear signs that the book of Islam, the Quran, is the word of God, and we have many reasons to support this claim. There are scientific and historical facts found in the Quran which were unknown to the people at the time and have only been discovered recently by contemporary science.
Wow.
The Quran is in a unique style of language that cannot be replicated. This is known as the inimitability of the Quran.
Allahu Akbar.
There are prophecies made in the Quran and by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which have come to pass. The following are some facts found in the Quran. Number 1. Origin of life. Water is essential for all living things.
That's true.
We all know that water is vital to life, but the Quran makes a very unusual claim. We made every living thing from water. Will they not believe? In this verse, what?
Yeah, it's the origin of life. And you know what's like interesting about this part as well? And this is something I saw not long ago in a documentary on TV actually, that talks about like other planets in the universe and why there's no life. And there are like some planets they don't have really water, or the water is either frozen because it's too cold or something, right? And to bring forth life or to start some sort of atmosphere on a planet, you will need water. Like this is essential. Like scientists are saying this about planets in our universe that are just pieces of rocks and minerals, right? That the only reason why there's no life is because there's also no water. The atmosphere is not so good because of it, right? And when you think about it, isn't like the more than 90% of our body made out of water or something? I read about this, right? Like, I don't know the exact percentage of the human body, but the majority is made out of water. And you can look this up. This is actually true. So yeah, Allahu Akbar. This is also a very, very interesting thing, because how did people more than 1,400 years ago would have known that, right? Like, you need machines, you need like microscopes, you need to analyze the body and everything. And same with like, if you look at like the atmosphere and this and that, like this is something that only now you can really prove, right?
Will they not believe? In this verse, water is pointed out as the origin of all life. All living things are made of cells. We now know that cells are mostly made up of water.
Yes.
For example, 80% of the cytoplasm, basic cell material, of a standard animal cell is described as water in biology textbooks. The fact that living things consist mostly of water
like us
was
humans
discovered only after the invention of the microscope.
I said
in
this.
the deserts of Arabia, the last thing someone would have guessed is that all life came from water.
Because it's hot and dry, there's scent everywhere.
Number 2, iron. Iron is not natural to the earth. It did not form on the earth but came down to earth from outer space.
Really?
This may sound strange, but it's true.
I didn't know
Scientists have found that billions of years ago, the earth was struck by meteorites. These meteorites were carrying iron from distant stars which had exploded.
Wow, that's
the
fascinating.
Quran says the following on the origin of iron. We sent down iron with its great inherent strength and its many benefits for humankind.
You know what?
God.
Yeah, here it says sent down. So you can, like, even if you look at the word we sent down mean it came from above, so it came down, right? You know, it's like interesting now that I think about it, and after hearing this, because I didn't know that, like, I had no clue that the iron on our earth came actually from space and it landed here and just like smashed through the surface and was like then underground and people are like mining it, this and that, right? Like, one thing's interesting here, as far as I know, you can't really, can you actually create iron through biological means or by mixing elements? You could have kind of say like blood has iron, but isn't it like a different iron? It's just called iron. Is it the same iron like the metal? No, I don't think you can produce iron from blood. I don't think that's possible, is it? Because like we also consume iron, but I think it's a different sort of iron, right? But I don't know if you can actually create iron from other minerals. I think iron is a raw mineral that only comes in the raw form, and you can't artificially create it. Maybe you can create something similar to iron, but it's definitely not the same, right? Because I've not heard about artificial iron yet. If there's any artificial iron or you can create it, let me know in the comment section, because I'm actually curious about it.
God uses the words sent down for iron. It is clear from the verse that iron is not an earthly material, but was sent down for the benefit of humanity. The fact that iron came down to earth from outer space is something which could not be known by the primitive science of the 7th century.
Facts, yes.
Number 3. Sky's protection. The sky plays a crucial role in protecting the earth.
Because it keeps the oxygen in.
The sky protects the earth from the lethal rays of the sun.
Oh, that.
If the sky did not exist, then the sun's radiation would have killed off all life on earth.
Yeah, true.
It also acts like a blanket wrapped around earth to protect it from the freezing cold of space.
Wow. Oh, yeah. I've actually... have you guys been flying before? I guess most of you did fly somewhere before for like vacation, right? Have you sometimes noticed when your plane is really high, how you suddenly have a bit of ice, especially if you sit at the window, how you suddenly have like your window frozen a little bit, and you see like there's like a little bit of ice being formed at the window, right? So yeah, that's why, because it's getting very, very cold in the sky, like if you go really, really high.
If this temperature was to reach Earth, then the planet would freeze over instantly. The sky also protects life on Earth by warming the surface through heat retention, greenhouse effect,
yeah, greenhouse
and
effect,
reducing temperature extremes between day and night. These are some of the many protective functions of the sky. The Quran asks us to consider the sky in the following verse. We made the sky a protective ceiling, and yet they are turning away from our signs.
Wow, yeah. Allahu Akbar.
The Quran points to the sky's protection as a sign of God.
Yeah, this is a very clear
the
verse.
protective properties
There's no misinterpretation.
Of the sky were discovered by scientific research conducted in the 20th century. Number 4. Mountains. The Quran draws our attention to a very important characteristic of mountains. Did we not make the earth as a resting place and the mountains as stakes?
Yes.
The Quran indicates that mountains have deep roots by using the word stakes to describe them.
Yeah.
In fact, mountains do have deep roots, and the word stakes is an accurate description for them. A book titled Earth by geophysicist Frank Press.
Yeah, but that makes sense. Like if a mountain didn't have roots, and you can't picture those roots like with a tree. Like it's not like it's a plant at the mountain, right? But by roots you can kind of say like some mineral connections that are way different in like if you go lower than it is on top, right? And on top kind of like it's a bit weaker the structure, then it gets heavier and stronger at the bottom, and it spreads out. And if you look at a mountain, it's kind of like this shape, right? Like almost like a triangle in most cases. So of course there's some sort of roots. You could say like the foundation is sort of like the roots, right? And it makes like also the mountain not flip over and stuff, right? So of course like physically it just makes sense that there's something like stakes, right? Keeping them firm, right?
Explains that mountains are like stakes and are buried deep under the surface of the earth.
Yeah, they're sticking out, yes.
Mount Everest, the height of which is approximately 9 kilometers above ground, has a root deeper than 125 kilometers. The fact that mountains have a deep stake, like roots, was not known until after the development of the theory of plate tectonics in the beginning of the 20th century. Number 5. Expansion of the universe.
Yeah, this shows that there's a start of the universe.
At the time when the science of astronomy was still primitive, the expansion of the universe was described in the Quran. And it is we who have built the universe with our creative power and keep expanding it.
This verse has more than just a scientific miracle. This verse actually proves that Allah was always there and was not created. Guess why? Because atheists, they keep arguing that the universe is endless, right? And the universe was always there, and some random things happened, and some atoms and minerals, they mixed up and created life, and the energies got them together, this and that. Like, there are some wild theories by the atheists, but if you look at this scientific evidence that something here is expanding the universe. To expand, what does it mean? It had one single point in time, right? And it grows. So if this is the universe, like between my hands, right? And this is like look, it's expanding. What does it mean? It was smaller before. That means the universe had a start, if you think about it. So yeah, this is a evidence that Allah exists.
The fact that the universe is expanding was discovered in the last century. The physicist Stephen Hawking, in his book A Brief History of Time, writes, "The discovery that the universe is expanding was one of the great intellectual revolutions of the 20th century." The Quran mentioned the expansion of the universe even before the invention of the telescope. Number 6. Sun's orbit. In 1512, the astronomer Nicholas Copernicus put forward his theory that the sun is motionless at the center of the solar system and that the planets revolve around it. The belief that the sun is stationary was widespread amongst astronomers until the 20th century. It is now a well-established scientific fact that the sun is not stationary, but is moving in an orbit around the center of our Milky Way galaxy. The Quran mentions the orbit of the sun. It is He who created night and day, the sun and the moon, each floating in its orbit.
I mean, the sun is expanding as well, right? So there must be motion.
Astronomers just a couple of decades ago.
Scientists also say the sun is expanding. So if something is expanding, of course, there are also some energies happening, right, to expand. So it would just make sense that this object is moving too, because it's expanding as well, right?
But we now know that the Quranic account of the sun's motion is consistent with modern astronomy. Number 7. The ocean. The Quran uses imagery to convey its deep meanings. Here it describes the state of the unbelievers
with layers that you cannot see anything?
Out in a deep ocean, which is covered by waves, above which are waves.
That's true.
Above which are clouds, layers of darkness, one upon the other. When one puts out his hand therein, he can hardly see it. Those God gives no light to, they have no light.
Wow, the deep sea.
It is commonly thought that waves only occur on the surface of the ocean. However,
that's not true. Do you know how I learned about this? I was watching a documentary on TV, and it was about someone in a submarine, and they went deeper, and they actually warned the others sitting there that there's going to be some sort of pressure and some sort of waves that can push them around when they are going to the deep sea. And the deep sea, this is a miracle itself with the dark sea, right, where you can barely see a thing. Why is this a miracle? Because the human body, if you are in the sea, you can't even reach this darkness because you will be out of air. Not even the strongest and best lungs in this world from the best divers in the world can go to the deep sea with just the body. You need a freaking submarine, like a U-boat, a submarine. But they didn't have those 1,400 plus years ago. So that is a miracle in itself with the deep sea, that it is dark there. Because you can dive down for like, what, 2-3 minutes, and then you have to go back to the surface even. Like, maybe not even that much, right? Like, what is like the record? Is like 4 or 5 minutes or something? I don't even know. I have to look it up. But to really go down there, you maybe have to go down for like almost an hour or something. This is impossible. Like, you need a breathing machine or something with oxygen, a tank. And even then the pressure gets very, very difficult down there.
Surface of the ocean. However, oceanographers have discovered that there are internal waves that take place below the surface of the ocean. These waves are invisible to the human eye and can only be detected by specialist equipment. The Quran mentions darkness in a deep ocean above which are waves. Above which are waves, then clouds above that. This description is not only remarkable because it describes the internal waves in the ocean,
because the darkness,
but also because it describes darkness deep in the ocean. A human being can dive no more than 70 meters without breathing equipment.
Exactly, just a few minutes
is over. Light is present at that depth, But if we go down 1,000 meters, it is completely dark. 1,400 years ago, there were no submarines or specialist equipment to discover internal waves
Allahu
or the
Akbar.
darkness deep inside the oceans. Number 8. Lying in movement. There was a cruel,
lying
oppressive
detectors.
tribal leader named Abu Jahl, who lived during the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. God revealed a verse of the Quran to warn him. No, indeed, if he does not stop, we will seize him by the forehead, his lying, sinful forehead. God does not call this person a liar, but calls his forehead, the front part of the brain,
Wow.
lying and sinful, and warns him to stop. This verse is significant for two reasons. The first is that the front part of our brain is responsible for voluntary movement. This is known as the frontal lobe. A book titled Essentials of Anatomy and Physiology, which includes the results of research on the functions of this area, states
Wow.
the motivation and the foresight to plan and initiate movements occur in the anterior portion of the frontal lobes.
Wow, that is also a miracle, because you would need the medical science of today to even figure out which part of the brain is responsible for which one is responsible for like your body movements, which one is responsible for emotions, which one's responsible for lying and stuff. Like, this is a big miracle here. This is the same like saying there's a life form smaller than dust in the Quran. This is a hint that there is a bacterial life, right? You don't know this unless you have a microscope. This is another miracle. And also the miracle that a worker bee is described as being female. You also need a microscope to actually figure out that this one's a female. So there are like so many miracles in the Quran. And those are 9, but there are way more, guys. If you look them up, you will find many. Allahu Akbar.
Movements occur in the anterior portion of the frontal lobes, the prefrontal area. The part of the brain that is responsible for movement is said to be seized if the man does not stop.
Wow.
Secondly, numerous studies have shown that this same region, frontal lobe, is responsible for the lying function of the brain.
Wow.
One such study at the University of Pennsylvania, in which volunteers were asked questions during a computerized interrogation, it was found that when the volunteers were lying, there was significantly increased activity in the prefrontal and premotor cortices frontal lobe region.
Wow.
The front part of the brain is responsible for movement and lying. The Quran links movement and lying to this area. These functions of the frontal lobe were discovered with medical imaging equipment, which was developed in the 20th century.
Exactly. They didn't have that back then.
Number 9. Pain receptors.
Oh, with the
For a
skin.
long time, it was thought that the sense of feeling and pain was dependent on the brain. However, it has been discovered that there are pain receptors present in the skin.
Exactly.
Without these pain receptors, a person would not be able to feel pain. Consider the following verse on pain.
There's something, but it's a tragedy. It's very horrible. There was a person, and I saw this. There was someone had an accident, and they burnt their skin. It was it 3rd or 4th degree? Like there are several degrees. It was like a very high. It was like one where the skin is like almost like zombie skin or something, right? And it was like a very, very high level. And this person had in his arm no feeling. So if something touched him and they tested it, he doesn't feel anything. Why? Because his skin is dead from the burn, right? So he has no feeling in part of his arm. So yeah, this is actually true. Allahu
Consider
Akbar.
the following verse on pain. We shall send those who reject our revelations to the hellfire. When their skins have been burned away, we shall replace them with new ones so that they may continue to feel the pain. God is almighty, all-wise.
Yeah, why use
God
skins
tells the
and not
people who
flesh?
reject his
Could have
message
used flesh,
that when
but it
they
was
are
skin.
in hell and their skins are burnt off,
Yeah, it's not flesh,
so they
it's skin.
can't feel any pain, he will give them new skins so that they continue to feel the pain. The Quran makes it clear that pain is dependent upon the skin. The discovery of pain receptors in the skin is a fairly recent discovery for biology.
Allahu Akbar.
These are just some of the many facts found in the Quran.
Yeah, there are more.
It is important to know that the Quran is not a book of science, but that it is consistent with science.
Yeah, you just...
To claim that scientific facts in the Quran are due to coincidence would be irrational.
Because there's so many.
The best explanation is that God revealed this knowledge to the Prophet Muhammad. Just like the Quran contains knowledge about the natural world, it also contains information about the inner dimensions of our souls. It relates to our feelings, wants, and needs. The Quran informs us that we have a purpose in life, and that following God's guidance will lead us to an inner peace in this life and paradise in the hereafter.
Allahu
And that
Akbar.
rejection of His message will lead to depression in this life and hellfire after death.
That's actually true.
We shall show them our signs in the universe and within themselves, until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. Is it not enough that your Lord is the witness of all things?
Allahu Akbar. Wow, this was a very good video. Let me give this one a thumbs up. But yeah, those are just 9 effects. There are like many more. Like, I also liked this part that I mentioned earlier about like the bee being a female bee, right? The worker bee that flies out. Because for that, you need a microscope to find out, right? The same is with, there's a life form smaller than dust. And this is bacterial life, right? And also like, how like the clouds work and this and that. Like there are so many miracles you can find in the Quran. It is actually incredible. And even though the Quran is not a book of science, it is not like your math book where you have like formulas and you can like use the formulas to like make complicated calculations. No, but there are verses that make you think, and they're actually in line with modern science, right? So there's no scientific error in the Quran. Even though the Quran is not a scientific book, there's no scientific error. That's what I want to say here. But yo, this is really, really good. And I see now why you guys wanted me to react to this video. It was very good. We should check out more of those videos. If there are any videos about like miracles in the Quran and they are not the same ones as here, and you know of any, like feel free to leave this in the comment section. I can look at this as well. And yeah, if you guys are new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give this one a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time.